Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jared Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so. Best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh yeah. New Day Rock. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it!
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jared.
I might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
Heel to the Face podcast is on the air for another week. We are on the road to WrestleMania. We are less than 19 days away, depending on when you're listening to us. The next time we will be with you, we will be about 12 days away. But either way, we are in the teen marker to WrestleMania 34. Lots to talk about. Even if you didn't want to talk about the showcase of the Immortals, WrestleMania, we have so much to talk about outside of that. So without further ado, let me introduce you once again. Brandon the Icebreaker Clements is joining us as always. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21. Myself, Jared, just Jared Wicks on Twitter. And don't forget to follow the program at Heel to the Face. That's where you find everything you need to know about the program at Heel to the Face on Twitter. So without further ado, let's start the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening
with a 20-minute time limit.
So without even having to talk about WrestleMania coming up, we got the big news this week. So Brandon, what is really the takeaway? Daniel Bryan is back. SmackDown saw its highest viewership of 2018 with 2.8 million viewers. I'm assuming for that fact alone, Daniel Bryan is back. Let's start with this question. The timing of the announcement. Do you like the timing of the announcement?
Yes.
For those who are not watching on YouTube, he stuck his hands in the air as well to simplify the yes.
In all seriousness, yes. This is great timing. It's funny because WrestleMania is right here. Do you think they had this planned all along? Like why was he not here for a little bit? You know, I think it's been going on for a while. They're just waiting for the right time to pull it out.
See, to me, I felt, there was the word that came down Tuesday before SmackDown that he was cleared. I think that he was cleared a long time ago. Not a long time ago. I do not think he was cleared Tuesday. I do not think he was cleared Monday. I think he was probably cleared sometime maybe last week, maybe even 2 weeks ago, because it just fits so perfectly into the storyline that he was cleared while this is all happening. Because what was their plan if he wasn't? Let's say he was cleared last Wednesday. So that's a full week. That's not Tuesday. That's last Wednesday. When they went into SmackDown last week and they had Kevin Owens, were they going to make it a triple threat? Like, what was the idea? Was it going to be 2-on-1? Somebody was going to be teaming with Shane McMahon. So as soon as I think last week's SmackDown went on the air, that's kind of when the decision was made. That's when he was cleared. He was cleared by that time, by last week's SmackDown, to set the seats for this tag team match and to kibosh the one-on-one match that they were going to have.
Oh, I was going to say, that is definitely done, especially after how SmackDown went off the air where Daniel Bryan got attacked by Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. After they got the "you're fired" from Daniel Bryan. There's no doubt in my mind. It's done. It's a tag team match now. It's going to be Shane and Daniel Bryan versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. That's a foregone conclusion. There's no other alternative at this point.
I would say that he was probably cleared right before Fastlane, because I believe they probably had Shane McMahon, and remember we had the question last week, the ill-timed him facing Dolph Ziggler. So I felt that maybe he was going to face Dolph Ziggler or not be involved at all, but those were the two scenarios for Shane, Dolph Ziggler or nothing. So before Fastlane, the idea was it was going to be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn one-on-one, and then Shane involved in his match or no match at all. And then right before Fastlane, I want to say maybe that weekend, maybe that Friday, that's probably when Daniel Bryan was cleared, and that's when Shane interfered in the match at Fastlane.
It makes sense. I mean, why would Shane do that out of nowhere, so to speak? Yeah. That has to be it. Daniel Bryan. I mean, obviously we probably won't ever really know the real date of when he does. Maybe it'll be on Total Divas or Total Bellas, when they have the new season coming out, whenever that is. But I will say this. I think it's great that he's back. It took WWE way too long. They were too precautious, I think. The problem is he was cleared by multiple doctors a long time ago. And finally WWE's like, all right, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's good.
I think WWE, though, to their credit, okay, they've gotten so much grief for the decades about pumping their wrestlers with steroids, with not caring one bit about their wellness or their health, with just throwing them out there, with always calling them independent contractors so they didn't have to give them health insurance. So this was one of those times where I feel that they wanted to be as precautious with Daniel Bryan as possible, because of the fact they've gotten such a bad rap in the past. And a lot of people, they're not going to hear the full story. They're not going to hear that it was Daniel Bryan who wanted to get out there. They're not even going to believe it. They're going to say, well, maybe Daniel Bryan wanted to get out there because he wasn't getting a paycheck. That's why. And WWE was looking to take advantage of that. So I think WWE wanted to cover their bases as much as possible to show that we're not taking advantage of Daniel Bryan. We're not pushing him out there.
They went too far.
We're not being...
They went. I mean, I get it. I think they went too far. I think they dragged this out way too long. I really do. I mean, the timing's good in a sense for a booking perspective. I mean, it's perfect. Now he's ready to go right before WrestleMania. That's great timing. But he's been cleared by multiple independent doctors for a while now. He should have been back. He could have. I mean, obviously this is very speculative, but he could have been in the ring at WrestleMania last year. He's healthy. He's been healthy for a while. I mean, watching. I mean, I've watched Total Bellas and Total Divas and seeing how he is. He's good. I'm just glad it's taken forever, and I gotta give Brie credit, just like Daniel Bryan gave her credit. She kept pushing him. This isn't your. Let's keep getting more. Let's have somebody else say yes. Let's have another person say yes. And finally, I think the WWE was like, all right, you know what? There's been enough. And then they did some more. They probably did some more. Checking of their own, and they cleared him. So thank you, Brie Bella. That's awesome.
I would have preferred this after WrestleMania. Now, I know that on the Raw after WrestleMania, we still have a lot of people that can quote-unquote come back. There's still some surprises there. Obviously, Big Cass is still out. Dean Ambrose is still out. Jason Jordan is still out. But I felt this would have been a perfect night after WrestleMania kind of announcement. This would have been perfect for him to announce his in-ring return, because the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, the one-on-one match that was heading that way, I was excited for it. And I thought, obviously there's still Shane stuff. There's still Dan. But again, we don't need... WrestleMania isn't... We don't take 6 months off. We have so much stuff to fill. You forget that there will be 15 hours of SmackDown, 20 hours of Monday Night Raw between WrestleMania and the next pay-per-view. So it's not like after WrestleMania, the pay-per-views just start coming fast. We have a month off from April 8th when WrestleMania is, I think, till May 6th when WWE Payback is. I mean, that's a full month right there you're going to have to kill. So keep some of this hot stuff, this stuff that we're looking forward to. That's why they always have the comebacks on Raw, because of the fact that after WrestleMania, we're like, well, what now? All the good matches are gone. They gotta start fresh. Daniel Bryan would have been a good start and fresh.
There's going to be a lot of surprises. I can already see that now. There's going to be some NXT call-ups. That is 'tis the season. You know that. So that's where you gotta hit where you gotta strike when the iron's hot, so to speak. You're gonna see a lot. I think I could see like Aleister Black. I could see him coming up. I could see Roderick Strong has kind of already dipped his hand in the
cruiserweight.
He's been dipping into that a little bit,
which I felt he should have made it to the finals of the cruiserweight, because not to get off topic with the Daniel Bryan thing, but this cruiserweight championship, it's not that the match isn't any good. But I thought this idea was it was going to give it some star power and some attention. And it seems like this championship match that is the Cruiserweight Championship is just, it doesn't have that pizzazz. It doesn't even have what we had last year for the Cruiserweight Championship in Austin Aries versus Neville.
And that's why that's why they were pushing Aleister Black possibly in that direction, which to me that would be poor booking. To me, Aleister Black is a future world champion. Not a Cruiserweight champion. He's a future world champion. That guy has got too much talent. He's not bad on the mic. I think he's going to be a great addition to Raw or SmackDown, which I presume will be after WrestleMania. I think he's so good, and you also got to think the Iconic Duo. Now we know why they've been taking a leave of absence. They weren't in the women's Royal Rumble. They were getting some cosmetic work done, so to speak. I don't know if you saw that. That's why they were out. They were both getting boob jobs. For anyone that's out of the loop, they were getting boob jobs. That's what WWE, they want to enhance their look. So they both did it. And I think they're going to be coming up to Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania. don't be surprised that the iconic duo is.
I don't understand with their plastic surgery, though, how that will help their wrestling future. If anything, wouldn't that be detrimental to it?
No, I mean Charlotte Flair, I think, has. Not to get too far into the boob jobs, but
Yeah.
a lot of the women, the female wrestlers have done that over the years, and and I would say, a few of them have. Obviously, there's certain ones we know haven't, but you can always tell the difference. I mean, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, to me, Charlotte Flair's one. I think. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's affected her. Natalya, same thing. To be honest, even if and they're both decent in-ring competitors, the iconic duo. I think it's just going to enhance their look more. I think WWE wants to get them a certain look. You know how WWE is; they want a certain look. So I don't know if it was under the direction of WWE or maybe the iconic duo did it on their own. Obviously getting it approved by WWE because you have to get everything approved by WWE. We know that.
Well, even Marie dyed her hair that one time red, and it stuck to this day. But that was without the approval of WWE. They wanted her to be a blonde back in the day. Good for her, though. That gave her probably more attention than she was actually going to get. Because imagine if she never dyed her hair red. Eve Marie without the red would have been... and I'm not saying she made it big, but the fact that made it so she made it at all. She would have been JoJo at best without the red hair.
It's given her other opportunities outside of WWE. So.
Yeah, because obviously it gave her a name for a minute in WWE, and that minute then gives her a name outside of WWE. Without the red hair, she would have never got the minute. She would have never had the other opportunity.
And she's set for life because she's got other opportunities outside of the business. So that move for her maybe didn't work out for the WWE perspective, but for her, her professional career after, post WWE, I think it's been good for her. So, I don't follow her. I'm not on Instagram or anything, but I'm assuming she's doing pretty well in the modeling and fitness world or whatever. So
yeah, she's got some stores open up. But to stick with what really, because let me tell you, if Eva Marie was currently on the roster, let alone not on the roster, I don't want to talk about her too much. Anyways, so Monday Night Raw. Let's get past Daniel Bryan. Ultimate Deletion. We had the thing pretty much stolen that we had from Impact Wrestling. Obviously, Jeff Hardy, Brother Nero, and Matt Hardy, they made this famous in Impact Wrestling. The only reason why everyone popped so hard last year at WrestleMania because Matt Hardy was coming back was because of this gimmick that he had in Impact Wrestling and kind of did what a Cody Rhodes is doing. And I'm not saying Cody Rhodes was nobody, but obviously in the Indies, the ROHs, he kind of rejuvenated his career. That's what Matt Hardy did with his broken gimmick. So now we finally have the broken gimmick 1 year later come to fruition and finally have it to its heightened popularity, I guess, where we finally have Ultimate Deletion, which was the same thing as we saw in Impact Wrestling, which I believe it wasn't Ultimate Deletion, it was Final Deletion.
Yeah, something like that. To me, it was another version of like the House of Horrors.
That's what it felt like.
To me, that's how. It was a good match. It was a good way. It was a nice way to end of the show, and it was good to see Matt Hardy come on top. I'm curious to see what's next.
I think the good news that we got out of this is that rumors are that Bray Wyatt is going to be repackaged because I think his character has reached its
run its course.
Yes.
Let me ask you guys, what would you like to see him as? Any ideas?
He can keep it's not a repackaging, I want to say, exactly in the sense of somebody brand new. He's not going to come out as Husky Harris, the All-American.
Yeah.
But just maybe like a more realistic version of himself, maybe of this character. Kind of maybe a little bit laid back. Currently Luke Harper has a gimmick. He had a gimmick in his indie feds, which was Big Rig Brody Lee, and he was like a trucker. And he wore, wife beaters, and he came around like a big trucker with jeans on. And that maybe can be the way that Bray Wyatt can go in WWE, be, a realistic version of himself. Maybe just a southern.
I like that.
A southern hick, a southern trucker.
I could totally see that. I think that would be a good move for him.
Maybe kind of blending into kind of what Elias, obviously without the musical gimmick, but kind of like an Elias thing.
So he's like a drifter too.
Yeah,
so to speak. Now let me ask you this: do you think he's going to be? Do you think it's a long layoff? Do you think he's going to be gone for a little while?
No, I don't even know if he's going to be really gone. But
maybe this whole thing makes him reborn into something else. They turn it that way, I guess.
These are just rumors, but again, if these rumors go true, obviously they would make perfect sense. It's because of the fact that if he's not being repackaged, then what are you doing with him? And what are you doing with this Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt thing? Is that completely over now for sure?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think Ultimate Deletion
I hope so.
Probably put an end to that. Move on to the John Cena calling out The Undertaker. Yet again, my problem with this is WrestleMania is here. I mean, these are things that should have been happening in February for me to get excited, because we're at a point now. John Cena is going to face Kane. We're at a point now, if the match is made official next week, that will be 2 weeks before WrestleMania. And if the match isn't made official next week, and maybe the week after, 1 week before WrestleMania, and obviously there's lots of times where matches are made a week before WrestleMania, 2 weeks. But those are tag team matches. Those are like stipulations in a tag team ladder match that, they were already going to fight. Now they made it a ladder match. That's not icon versus icon.
You're supposed to build it up more. I do feel, you can put it together quick, but I think we all knew the plan going in was Rey Mysterio. We knew that was going to happen. So they had to think on their feet quick, just like they had to do with the the Fabulous Moolah Classic
Battle Royal, Memorial Battle Royal.
Yeah, they had to change. They had to flip it on the fly. To me, I think it's just poor booking. Do you think this is going to happen, or do you think it's just going to be John Cena versus Kane? You think that's where it's going?
Well, it's John Cena versus Kane on Raw next week.
Do you think it's going to go there? Do you think that's where it's going to be for WrestleMania?
No, I assume they wouldn't be doing this.
That would be stupid
for nothing to happen of it. And here's what I'm even more afraid of is that they might even do it where he doesn't answer until WrestleMania. Maybe it's a John Cena comes to the ring and is he going to answer the bell? Is he going to answer the call? And then Undertaker's music hits.
You hear the music and
I feel like a match like this deserves a little more. If Bray Wyatt, for example, the year after, that would have been a good scenario for the year after Undertaker lost at WrestleMania 30, for when Bray Wyatt maybe to call him out and then him return at WrestleMania in that style. Like, is he gone for good after he lost, or is he coming back? I'm going to call him out at WrestleMania, because that's Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker, and that's really any match like Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker, Mark Henry versus The Undertaker, Randy Orton versus The Undertaker. The idea was it was The Undertaker. These are two names. This deserves a little bit better booking than Elias calling out The Undertaker, and I'll be at WrestleMania calling out The Undertaker, because that we would just be there to see The Undertaker. We're there to see both parties. Mm-hmm. This isn't just Hogan versus Earthquake. This is Hogan versus Rock. So I feel that this needs a little bit better booking on that regard.
Let me ask you
it's
this.
Just getting too quick. WrestleMania's 2 weeks away, and we don't have a few big matches made official yet.
I think that's why they kind of threw this Daniel Bryan thing
Good
together.
thing WrestleMania isn't next week. Typically, it is next weekend, but because Easter falls next Sunday, they pushed it back a week. So good thing that they have that extra week
to figure this out.
Yeah, because there's still, not just matches aren't made official, but these are some main event matches. Obviously, the Shane Daniel Bryan thing isn't official. The Undertaker John Cena isn't official.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Overall, what did you think of the shows this week? I did like the part where it was Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev. That was a good match, and I liked the fact at the end of it, it was Rusev and the harmonious voice of Aiden English. They were attacking Shinsuke Nakamura, and it's so funny. It was like they played it so well. AJ slowly starts getting his stuff off so he can get into the ring, and then by that point Shinsuke handled his business, and then in the backstage you see a little bit later on. He just, how Shin is with his, it's a really quick promo. I didn't need you, pretty much. I can take care of myself. I like the way they're building this. I think it's subtle. It's not your normal build up, but there's not
because we just want to see the match so bad that we don't need them to be at each other's throats.
You don't need a build. You don't really need to. It's subtle how they're doing it. It's just all right, well. I'll get you next time. It
reminds
cool.
me
It's
a lot
friendly.
of John Cena versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 23 in Detroit when they were tag team champions and facing each other, so they were like frenemies.
Yeah,
and it was a competition, and that's kind of what this is. These guys don't hate each other. These guys, it's just competition.
It's competition. They respect the hell out of each other. Personally, I cannot wait. I'm so excited. This match can't come soon enough. I'm concerned about this WrestleMania this year. I'm concerned how it's really going to turn out. Because to me, the more I look into it, I'm like, Shinsuke, AJ, that's going to be good. Are we going to see Carmella cash in? Where are we going? And then you got what Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, going after the Intercontinental title.
I'm concerned because this will have most likely the most matches in WrestleMania history. As of without being official, they were at 14 matches, which was tied for WrestleMania 4, which had that long tournament for the most matches in WrestleMania history. The problem is, though, more matches don't necessarily mean a better show, because it means every match is going to get less time. And last year's WrestleMania went just shy of was it? It was like 5 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 5 hours.
It ended about 12:15. So yeah, it was about 5 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, 5 and change. Yeah.
So are they going to do that again this year? And even if they go again this year that far, that was with about 12 matches last year. They got 2 more on the card this year. Thank God they don't have a host. This year, if they had a host or something ridiculous like that, I think that would be awful because there's so many matches. Does this mean we're not going to get a Kid Rock performance? And if we do get a Kid Rock performance, does that mean we're going to get time cut even shorter on matches? That's where I get a little concerned. How many matches are going to be on the pre-show? Are they going to stick 4 matches on the pre-show?
Now, not to bounce around too much. I know, speaking of WrestleMania, and I know we're talking about maybe having, I know like Rock's been the host. We've had, New Day was the host. And to your point earlier about maybe, John Cena's out at the ring, and he's like, all right, let's see if Undertaker really shows up because they really didn't build it. Could he be set up as the host and then something happens where he's like, he's talking about it and he's like, yeah, too bad Undertaker's not really, he kind of wussed out. He didn't answer the call. And then you hear his music. I mean, do you see something like that?
No, I feel that probably Undertaker's going to answer probably sometime between the Kane and John Cena match next week.
You think so?
There's going to be something related to that.
Well, I would hope he shows up on Raw
something
next
on
week.
the Titantron.
I hope he shows up on Raw next week. That's what I'd like to see. Now, speaking of Raw, not to bounce too back and forth between the shows. What did you make of the handcuffed Roman Reigns segment with Brock Lesnar? What did you think?
I'm glad that they moved that along quicker. That we saw both of them on the same show.
And by
versus
the way,
just Brock Lesnar coming out and then Roman Reigns coming in next week.
Did I not call it? I told you Roman Reigns was going to be there the following week. I called that last week. That was his suspension. We all knew he was going to be there this week. I mean, it was. Now, I thought it was interesting where they, he was handcuffed by the marshals and then Brock comes out. I thought that was interesting. It's not your traditional where, like I've seen it before, where they have to get the whole locker room to separate them and stuff out back because they're beating the crap out of each other. This is different, but I think the way they're doing it, it makes Brock kind of look like, I think it makes him look like lesser of a beast because he has to beat the guy. He has to beat Roman up with handcuffs. Like, what is your reaction on that?
I don't think that, it's just we're just seeing so much of Brock Lesnar. The build up seems very typical of any of his matches, especially he's already faced Roman Reigns before. Just any of his matches, it seems like just a typical like I attack you, you come out next week, Roman Reigns attacks him, that type of thing. They don't really go back and forth. The match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar is probably gonna be 6 minutes.
It'll be. To be honest, it'll probably be forgettable.
You know what would be great though, and I'm saying this kind of now. I'm going to end this on a hot take here. So Roman Reigns has been indicating about how Brock Lesnar is Vince's boy.
Yeah,
I personally want to see Brock Lesnar win. I always want to see Brock Lesnar win, even when he's not so much on his way out the door.
So wait, is that because you don't like Roman?
Well, that's part of it, but I also want to see Brock Lesnar win. Would it be great if we saw WrestleMania 17 revisited and Vince coming out and helping Brock Lesnar win?
That's not going to happen.
That would be awesome.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's just a hot take. If it happens, you heard it here first.
And that's a steaming hot take. If it happens, I'll text you. And I'll be like, you sucker.
All right, that's going to do it for the first segment of the show. When we return, we got our Twitter question of the week, our tweets of the week, and as always, before WrestleMania 34 coming up, our WrestleMania Wednesday question of the week, because this is the Heel the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boyd Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow at BoyGreen25 and at Ty D. Butler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL. We talk about the NFL. We talk about the MLB. You name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
Heel to the Face podcast is back on the air. It's time to hit our social media portals of the week with our Twitter question of the week and our tweets of the week. So without further ado, let's get to our Twitter question of the week. So for the second week in a row, our Twitter question is a little time-sensitive, a little outdated, I guess, if you will. So last week, I brought up the question about Shane McMahon versus Dolph Ziggler. SmackDown obviously changed that up. And this week's SmackDown kind of changed this up because I mentioned that last year, Jinder Mahal was in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. If you remember, he was in there to the end with Rob Gronkowski. This year, before Tuesday Night SmackDown, when I put this question out, he was pretty much slated to be in the Battle Royal because he didn't have a match and he didn't really have a feud going on. But either way, now, instead of being in the Battle Royal, he is going to be the third wheel, I guess, of the Bobby Roode, Randy Orton U.S. title match. So just outside of, just a step above the Battle Royal into an actual match, but he doesn't really have quite a feud going on with either of those two. He's just kind of thrown into the triple threat match. Yeah. Like I said, he's the third wheel of the triple threat match.
Yeah, he's a throwaway. Absolutely.
So from Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 33 to the third wheel of the U.S. title picture this year at WrestleMania, and somewhere in between there, he held the world title for an extremely long period of time, the longest of the year outside of Brock Lesnar over on Raw, and for the WWE Championship, the longest for the entire year for the WWE Championship on SmackDown. So with going from Mania to Mania, how has your opinion changed or stayed the same on him? The answers were, is he still a pre-show talent? Is he still belong in the Battle Royal? Does he still not belong in the card? Is he now a solid mid-carder? Do you put him up there with where Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler are right now? Or C, is he a main event star? Should he be in the world title picture? Should he be where he was? Should him and AJ be closing the show at WrestleMania 34? 0% of people said he's a main event star, which is pretty sad because he was the SmackDown main event star for like 8 pay-per-views in a row.
And like I said last year, it was attributed to the WWE in India. That's what it came down to. I said that. I called it. That's exactly what happened. Now,
33% say still a pre-show talent, so he should probably still be in the Battle Royal. Even though he held the world title, they still feel the same about Jinder Mahal.
Where did you go on this?
I said still a pre-show talent. 67% of people said he's now solidly in the mid-card.
Wow, so you and I agree we're in the minority. He's still a pre-show talent.
Well, the minority are, I think, nobody picked main event star.
Well, I'm saying between the two.
So, but that proves the point that you put a world belt on somebody, and yet it still doesn't do much.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, that's where I went. I mean, you're gonna put him as a third wheel, like you said, third wheel, third. He's kind of the throwaway guy in this match. Doesn't that smell like mid? You're not,
if he wasn't on the card, if he was in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, or not on the card at all,
he's still pre-show.
Would anybody care? Would anybody even wonder? It's not just would anyone care. Would anybody even wonder if he was not there and there was no word about him being injured or anything? How many people would actually notice?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't have cared.
I mean, if Fandango and Tyler Breeze are not at WrestleMania, how many people are going to notice?
I would notice it more than I would Jinder.
You would notice that? See, I won't even notice if they're not there at all.
I mean,
I won't notice the Ascension or not in the Battle Royal.
To be honest, I probably wouldn't notice it, either way. But if I had to say what would I notice more, and honestly, it would be the Breezango.
I mean, I feel right now he's just a step above Heath Slater.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets more TV time than Heath Slater, and he's got more of a presence of a heavyweight contender in that sense. He's not so much, a parody. He's not there for a funny segment like Heath Slater is. But when it comes to his importance, I want to say he's just a step above Heath Slater. And, this made me think about WWE's role in making people champions, and I wonder if that is their goal. I wonder if their goal is to take somebody from the pre-show, essentially, from the low card, and give them a world title, not to make them a world champion for the long time, but to just then make them a mid-carder. For example, with Dolph Ziggler, with Sheamus, with The Miz. I mean, now look where The Miz is. Miz is a solid Intercontinental Champion. He is solidly in the mid-card. He is right there in the middle. He's Mr. Perfect. He's Ted DiBiase. He's right there in the middle.
I'd put him a step ahead of the mid-card.
But he's solidly in the mid-card.
Yeah, I would say yes.
He's solidly on every pay-per-view.
He's the upper echelon of the mid-card.
Yes.
I would agree with that. Yes.
So I wonder if that is WWE's idea in making these people world champions, because Jinder Mahal, I feel if they made him Intercontinental Champion, that wouldn't have really drawn any buzz. So you gotta throw him to the sky so that the furthest that he's going to fall is the clouds.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I mean, to me, I think they fell short. I think they sold him short, to be honest with you. I mean, his reign was what it was, but a lot of the fans out there are, we're savvy. We know what's going on. Me, coming from the financial perspective of it, you got to make the dollars in India, put the championship on the guy who represents India. Makes sense. Because once everything in India was done, his stock started going back down because they're like, all right, we got to have a champion from there. It's going to sell more. It's going to put more butts in the seats. It's going to sell way more merch. It's going to make a lot more money for WWE. So that was the move. I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
I feel though, was he champion in India though? Didn't he lose right before India?
No, he was champion. Yeah, he was champion. I remember because I mentioned it to Paul because Paul was giving me crap about it, which we'll be getting Paul back soon. So, but I mentioned it to him, and I'm like, dude, I told you.
You mentioned it to everybody for like 6 months straight because he was champion for a long period of time.
He was
through SummerSlam. I mean, he was still the champion.
But you know what? For him, I think they sold him short. I mean, under more scenarios like The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, those guys, like you said, they are solid mid-card talents.
Is it because they at one time held the world belt?
That is part of it, yes, because it helped them build up their resume and their reputation in the business. Because especially The Miz. Because Miz came into WWE and people were laughing at him like, oh, you're a reality star. That's how they had to build him.
If you put him in the main event for long enough, you don't have to keep him in the main event after 8 months, but then people would notice if they weren't on the show.
See, I wouldn't notice. I wouldn't notice that he was gone because to me, it was fun. It was fun while it lasted, but it's one of those it's like the 15 minutes of fame. That's really what it is. He's going back to 3MB. That's how I see it. I mean, what are they going to do? Because one of the Singh brothers is out. He's out right now. So what are you going to do? You're going to revitalize it because the other Singh brother's back from injury? You know what I mean? Like, to me, the whole Jinder Mahal thing, I think it's lost its luster. The only way WWE can bring him back is somehow he's got to pull off the championship at WrestleMania, and I don't see that happening. Honestly, I think Randy Orton's going to win.
Well, they threw him in there for a reason. If not, they would have just had, both men on the show one-on-one in that rematch that everyone was wanting. So maybe they threw him in there for a reason. Probably not.
No, I'd be highly surprised.
We will find out in New Orleans in 2 weeks. We move on to, because we're moving on to WrestleMania in 2 weeks, we have our WrestleMania question of the week. Every Wednesday, we put out a new WrestleMania-related question. We started this last week with our worst WrestleMania of all time. So this week's WrestleMania question Wednesday moves on to the best WrestleMania of all time. And there are only 4 choices. Obviously, there should have probably been an other category. There's 33 WrestleManias, so a lot of differing opinions. But I sent out some consensus ones. WrestleMania 3, Andre versus Hogan, 93,000 people. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Macho Man. WrestleMania 10, you had the ladder match. You had Owen Hart versus Bret Hart, a classic match there. WrestleMania 17, which, let's be honest, I mean, I think that is most people's consensus pick for the best WrestleMania of all time. And then WrestleMania 30, which, WrestleManias were kind of dragging for a little bit. People thought, they were getting a little People weren't a big fan of 25 outside of the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match. 26, I mean, again, you saw Bret Hart, a man who couldn't even fall down, take on Vince McMahon in a match. I mean, he had stuff like that you lost some of its wrestling credibility. Mickey Rourke versus Chris Jericho at one time. But WrestleMania 30, solid. There was really no celebrity appearances. It was wrestling the whole way. Obviously, Daniel Bryan was a big part of it because he was in 2 matches on the card. The streak ended. So those are your 4 choices, and 57% conclude with the consensus choice. WrestleMania 17, X7, Houston, Texas. The greatest WrestleMania of all time. Second place, though, is WrestleMania 30 with 29%. Brandon, though, he says none of these choices were any good.
No.
Not his favorite.
No, my favorite, you can call it 2 names. It's the one before 17, WrestleMania 16, or as I refer to as WrestleMania 2000.
Well, I think it's what a lot of people refer to. That's what the video game referred to it as. Nobody really refers to it as WrestleMania 16.
By the way, great. By the way, on the N64,
one of the best wrestling games of all time.
Great game. Aside from that, my favorite match. I mean, that at the time I was a young kid, and I was.
TLC.
I was gonna say you stole my thunder. Edge and Christian, Dudley's, Hardy's. To me, that's what started it all for me, man. Like, for the tag team side of it, like I always had like Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, but this really started it all for tag team like ladder matches. These guys put on a hell of a show. When you put those three teams together in a match, it was magic. It was a great match. To me, one of my favorite matches, my personal favorite matches of all time. I could go back on the WWE Network right now and watch it. I obviously I know what happened, but I'll still go back and watch it. Just how the performers performed in that match, absolutely fantastic. And not to mention and I'm looking over the the match card itself. I forgot about this, and I really now remembering it. The Hardcore Battle Royal for the Hardcore Championship, won by Hardcore Holly. That was a good match, too. That actually lasted.
I think the highlight of that, though, was on the post-show. That was back in the day. So there was a time where WrestleMania, and they still kind of do in a way, they try out pre-shows, they try out post-shows, meaning they'll have like a 2-hour pre-show, and then the next year they won't have anything. And that time they had a post-show after WrestleMania where Hardcore Holly called, I don't know if it was Crash Holly or Taz or whoever he beat, a little shit.
Crash Holly.
Yes, that went over well in the era of he was not supposed to be saying that, pay-per-view or not. They had to cut away. I remember Jim Ross even apologizing for that. One thing I'll say, speaking of pre-show, post-show, WrestleMania 2000. WrestleMania 2000, very popular, very cool. They could obviously return to this format. WrestleMania All Day. Do you remember this, WrestleMania All Day? So my friend...
Refresh my memory.
You could either buy WrestleMania, which was from 8 o'clock until midnight, because the event went longer than 3 hours. It was the first one, I think, outside of some of the early ones, from probably WrestleMania 6 to WrestleMania 2000, they went under the 3 hours. They went to traditional pay-per-view length, from 8, and they were over by 11. And then WrestleMania 2000 was the first that pushed it till about 11:15, 11:20, and then from 11:20 to midnight, they had a post-show, so it really went from 8 to midnight. But for $50, because the event was about $35, for $50, you could buy WrestleMania All Day, which was from 12 noon all the way till midnight, and it was just Michael Cole at Access. This was before the network, so we didn't have just all this at our disposal. It was Michael Cole live at Access, just replaying matches, interviews with wrestlers.
I do remember that now.
Just leading up to the event for, from 12, like you get Doritos, get some Mountain Dew, and it was 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. of just hyping up to WrestleMania and then a 4-hour show.
I remember that now. Now that you say it like that, I remember that.
And they need that. I mean,
that's cool.
The pre-show now starts at like 5. I mean, I feel that's a little late because I feel WrestleMania should be starting earlier. I feel WrestleMania, if you're, instead of pushing it to past 12, why can't WrestleMania, we got to a point where you're going to make it longer. So why can't we move it up to 6? Why can't we move it up to 5? 6? I mean, I'll be happy with 6. Let's move it up to 6. And then if it goes to midnight, it will go to midnight. It won't go till 1. It will go
that's
to
1 o'clock's too late.
If you're going to keep the format where you're going to have these 5.5-hour WrestleManias, then move them to 6. Because look how many people in the everyday world of America complain about the Super Bowl, which ends, 10 o'clock? 9:45?
Wait, Super Bowl? No, it goes usually closer to 10:30.
Okay, 10:30, exactly. And WrestleMania is going to last year at 12:15. So I'm not going to get into debate whether they should make it shorter or not. But if you're going to keep it where it is a 5-hour event. Let's just say it's 5 hours, just 5 hours. Start it at 6. Start it because 6 to 11.
That's fine.
And then
I'm good with that.
And the pre-show, you can start the pre-show at like 3 o'clock. And it doesn't have to have matches, folks. That's what I like. The pre-show doesn't need to have these matches, and because again, that's not WrestleMania. So
True,
it's kind of silly they make, because look, we have how many matches now, and not all those matches are making WrestleMania. So this whole idea of there's a pre-show versus WrestleMania is kind of silly because of the fact that, well, if you're telling me this match is happening at WrestleMania, so my ticket says I can get there at 7 o'clock. That's the time the event starts, right? So I'm going to get all the matches you said are going to happen at WrestleMania after 7 o'clock? No? Well, then don't say then they're WrestleMania matches.
Exactly. That's true.
I feel that the pre-show thing is kind of silly. Just make the event longer and then have a pre-show with no matches. Just start the show at 5 o'clock, have all the matches on the card, and then from 4 to 5 have a pre-show with no matches.
Yeah, just do a 1 hour 1 hour pre-show, 1 hour post-show.
With no matches.
Yeah, no matches. I'm fine with that.
And then, so that when you say the Usos are defending the titles at WrestleMania, you mean that.
Yeah,
you don't mean the Usos are defending their title at WrestleMania, and then I show up to WrestleMania and I missed it.
Oh, it's at the WrestleMania pre-show. Oh, yeah. Well, sorry, we forgot to mention that.
And the worst part is, I kind of mentioned this on Twitter, not to get too far off topic. One of the real problems with WrestleMania pre-show is it's 2 hours long. It normally features matches that are not exactly understood which matches for sure are going to be on the pre-show. I mean, there'll be like one for sure on the pre-show, and then maybe one thrown onto the pre-show. And the problem with that is, because there's so much talking and it's a pre-show, they're all over the road. So, for example, I'll get there at 5 o'clock. There might be a match, and then I'll get up, and all of a sudden I hear there's a match going on. I'm like, what? They start another match? So I'll run back to my seat. The match will be over, and then I'll sit there. I don't want to get up now, and then I'll be an hour and a half of nothing. Yeah. And then I'll be like, I got to go to the bathroom. So I'll get up and go and they'll start another match, and you're like, during WrestleMania, the show just goes. You don't get up. You know there's going to be match after match after match. But during the pre-show, they'll have a match at 5 o'clock, and then you'll think it's safe to go to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden they'll just start a match. Oh, we're going to throw the Battle Royal or the IC title now. And that's what they did to me last year. I watched a Cruiserweight belt, and then after the Cruiserweight match was over, I said, all right, it's 5:15.
Go hit the head.
I'm going to go get a drink. And then I come back, and they're like, the IC title match is over. Like, what? And what do I come back for? Nothing. Because now they're on a 45-minute hiatus before the next match.
Yeah, I could tell you're mad.
Yeah.
It still irks at you, it sounds like.
So I don't want that to happen this year. I guess I'm going to have to get there at 4 o'clock this year. Well, actually,
I do have one suggestion for you. I don't know. I mean, I know you don't follow NASCAR, but you could just wear a NASCAR suit and you can just pee your pants. It'll be fine.
Well, and again, it hurts for not merchandise sales, but I guess concession sales. These events being so long and then having pre-shows and all this nonsense. If you had like a break in between, a break that we understood was going to happen, not like musical performance that we don't know if this is a musical performance or somebody's entrance. Maybe like you actually announce this is going to be a musical performance and put a timer on the thing like for the next 15 minutes. Yeah, this guy's going to be singing.
Yeah, like intermission.
Yes.
Yeah. Not like long, but 15, 20 minutes.
Because then I can go buy food, I can buy drink. I don't know.
Go get your souvenirs.
I don't know if when Pitbull's out there, I don't know if I should get up and go get a drink because I don't know if he's singing the entrance for a like WrestleMania 32 when Snoop Dogg came out. I don't know if this is a performance or he's doing Sasha Banks' entrance for the start of a match.
True.
So I have to wait till the song is over to realize, oh, that was a song. And I could have went to the bathroom. All right. So with that being said, we'll move on to that. Enough of the WrestleMania pre-show ranting. We'll save that probably. We got more of that coming. We'll have a WrestleMania special. All that nonsense coming down the line. But now it is time for our tweet of the week. I'll start with our tweet of the week. I'll leave you secondary, Brandon, this week. So my tweet of the week came at me. A girl. So it's from Steven Soselin at Soselin, SAUELEIN on Twitter. A girl this week. She looks about the age of 6 years old. She spoke to her elementary school class, and for Women's History Month. There's Susan B. Anthony. There's Michelle Obama. There's a lot of people. There's all sorts of women in history who made a difference. This young girl, though, says her women's history presentation was on...
Graduated from Osaka University of Art.
Asuka.
Has a background in figure skating and was a game designer for Microsoft and Nintendo. She's famous because she held the NXT Women's title for 510 days. She won the first Women's Royal Rumble and has been undefeated since 2015, the longest streak in WWE history. The reason why I admire her is because she won the first ever Women's Royal Rumble and has never been defeated. I'm presenting Asuka with the Women's History Belt for proving women can wrestle just as good as the boys can.
So that is my tweet of the week. 6-year-old presenting Asuka for her women's history presentation in front of her whole class.
Man, come on. That was good. We should have used that for the finish of the show. That was well done, young lady. That's good stuff. Mine this week, it was a little jab at Cesaro. They were coming down the ring and they were cutting a little promo, and they were like, "Yeah, we eat together, we hang out together, we do this," and then Cesaro, of course, us WWE fans are childish. He then says, "We sleep together too." So the tweet I found, I thought it was hilarious. The tweet comes from Vampire Kitty 093. It looks like it's Shar, I think. Share. And it says, you two sleep together, laugh out loud. I was thinking the exact same thing at that moment, and I couldn't stop laughing. And the best part was Sheamus is so good at cutting promos. He would like the way his response to it, pretty much like, "Yeah, you guys are a bunch of immature kids. Yeah, shut up." I thought that was funny.
You should have went the Baron Corbin route. I saw a tweet this week with Baron Corbin where somebody tweeted at Baron Corbin saying about his tights, his pants looked like, I think they said, looked like balls on the front of his pants. And he then responded back to this person in not so much the homosexual way, but more of the macho way of, "Well, your girl DM'd me last night that she said he looked good."
Oh, that's a stinger.
So a lot of people being quite juvenile, but that's one of the cases right there where I just mentioned where the wrestlers kind of come back with a juvenile response.
We're in such an era.
Yours not so much. Yours a little more mature, response to the question.
It was funny. I would have. That's if I was going to tweet about it. I would have gone probably about. I probably would have gone about that far. I wouldn't go too far. I don't want to go too childish, but I thought it was funny, and I just love the fan reaction to it. Like they're all laughing, and then I just like the fact that Sheamus, he's always quick to say, "Yeah, you guys are childish, whatever." Like it was all, it like made it sound like it was part of the promo,
So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the program. Next week, we'll be 1 week shy of WrestleMania 34. Don't forget to join us then. We'll have lots more to talk about, hopefully some more official matches, our tweets of the week, another Twitter question of the week, and just a lot more exciting fun. For Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, for myself, Jared Wicks, this has been the Heel to Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.